If you enjoy great wine but don't want to spend $60, $80, or even $100 a bottle, then today's video is for you. In this video, I'm going to reveal 9 outstanding wines that sell for around $25 per bottle in the United States and deliver the type of quality that you would normally expect from a wine that costs much more than that. Several of these wines have received 95 or even 96-point scores from major critics, and they come from a number of interesting and diverse wine regions around the world. There's both red wines and white wines, so there should be something for everyone. First up is a wine that comes from a producer in Piedmont, Italy that's known for making some outstanding wines that cost more than $100 a bottle, but that also has an extremely impressive, affordable entry-level wine. This is the 2023 La Spinetta Barbara Ca di Pian. If you're not familiar with Barbera, it's naturally high in acidity, which makes it a fantastic choice for food. Better still, you don't need to age it at all, and this one is ready to go immediately. There can be some uninspiring examples of Barbera, but this one is definitely a high-quality expression that received an impressive score from a major critic. The vineyard sources for this wine have vines that average an impressive 40 years of age and have ideal south-facing exposure and are located at 300 meters of elevation. This wine matures for around 12 months in oak barrique, plus some additional bottle aging before it's released. In the glass, you'll find flavors and aromas that include blueberry, black cherry, lavender, mixed spice, and menthol. This wine is soft, juicy, and extremely approachable with lots of fresh fruit and acidity. It has just enough structure to pair with roasted meats, and it's also an excellent companion for dishes like aged cheeses and pastas. Next, we head to Argentina for an intriguing white wine from Mendoza. This is another wine that I tried at the James Suckling event in New York recently, and it was definitely a standout, especially at this price point. This highly acclaimed wine comes from vineyards located in Luján de Cuyo, which is one of Mendoza's most respected subregions. The winery representative gave me some interesting insights into this wine. He said that this fruit used to be blended into other white wines, but that at some point, the quality became so high that they decided to bottle it separately, and I'm glad that they did. This is the 2023 Enemigo Semillon. The winemaking approach to this wine is also quite unique, as 35% of the wine matures under a layer of flor, or a thin film of yeast, which is a technique more commonly used for sherry. This helps to give the wine some additional complexity and texture, while at the same time preserving freshness and acidity. In the glass, you'll find flavors and aromas of stone fruit, mandarin, citrus oil, dried flowers, and subtle savory notes. On the palate, this wine has an intriguing texture and it's a little bit oily. There's also a striking saline quality that keeps everything fresh and lively. Next, we'll head back to Italy to a wine region that I think is becoming increasingly more interesting from a value standpoint. This is particularly true given some of the price increases we've seen for other Tuscan wines. This wine is 100% Sangiovese, and while my go-to for many years has been Chianti Classico, some of that wine is becoming a little bit more expensive, and so I'm starting to dabble in other areas. Specifically, Vino Nobile di Montepulciano. The 2022 Avignonesi Vino Nobile di Montepulciano received a 95-point score from James Suckling. This is definitely a wine that compares favorably to many Tuscan wines that sell for double the price, if not more. In the glass, you can expect flavors and aromas that include cherry, licorice, eucalyptus, bergamot, and mixed herbs. This wine has vibrant acidity and polished tannins. This is a wine that you can enjoy immediately, particularly with food, but it will also cruise in your cellar for 5 to 8 years or more. When I visited Austria a few years ago, I expected to enjoy the Rieslings, and I certainly did, but the biggest revelation was Gruner Veltliner. I found that I enjoyed that one even more, as it was a tremendous companion for food. So next up is a highly acclaimed Gruner Veltliner. Interestingly, however, this wine comes not from Austria, but from California. This wine comes from a small producer that specializes in Austrian grape varieties grown in California, and Gruner Veltliner is their flagship. This is the 2024 Tatomer Meeresboden Gruner Veltliner from Santa Barbara County. This wine is aptly named because Meeresboden roughly translates to ocean soils, And the soils for the vineyards that produce the fruit for this wine are sandy and marine influenced from cool climate sites in Santa Barbara County. This is a mineral-driven wine that's bright and refreshing with ample acidity, particularly in its youth, but I expect that it might have the ability to age for a few years as well and gain some additional complexity. Descriptors include mixed citrus and stone fruit, ginger, and there's also an intriguing salty, oyster shell, sea breeze quality that I really enjoy.
Well, the next wine that I'm buying in 2026 has some descriptors that very much remind me of the Northern Rhone. This is actually a highly acclaimed wine that comes from northern Spain, which over-delivers at between $25 and $30 per bottle. This wine is a blend that consists of around 80% Mencia, and there's also some smaller percentages of local grapes. The winemaking adds a lot to this wine, as they use some whole cluster fermentation that adds some intriguing aromatics. They also emphasize the purity of the fruit for this wine in their maturation process, which uses restrained amounts of new oak. In fact, 2/3 of this wine matures in vats. Those of you who are impatient will appreciate the fact that you can enjoy this wine immediately. You don't need to age it further at all. This is the 2022 Guimaro Camino Real Mencia, which features flavors and aromas of mixed red and black fruit and a smoked meat characteristic that very much reminds me of the Northern Rhone. If you're looking for a wine in the $25 to $30 price point, I strongly recommend you give this wine a try.
Next, we'll head to a land down under for a classic Barossa Valley Shiraz that's ideally suited for those of you who prefer bold, robust reds. While this producer is known for making some intensely concentrated wines from old vines, this wine is actually a wine that's made from younger vines. While old vines can produce wines that are age-worthy and have tremendous complexity, younger vines can be perfectly suited for the production of fresh, lively, fruity wines that can be extremely enjoyable in their youth. And so it is with the 2024 Torbreck Woodcutter Shiraz. This is a wine that's a consistent performer year after year, so you don't need to worry too much about vintage variation with this wine. The fruit for this wine comes from low-yielding vineyards that are hand-harvested, and this wine matures for around 12 months in a mix of large oak casks and previously used large oak barrels. This wine is rich, generous, and full of flavor. In the glass, you can expect descriptors that include blueberry, plum, earth, mixed spice, and herbs. This is a wine you can enjoy immediately, but it will certainly last at least 5 years with no problem at all. Riesling continues to be one of the most underrated, undervalued, world-class grape varieties in the world of wine. So this next wine will be perfect for those of you who appreciate serious, dry Riesling. If anyone watching this video still believes that all Rieslings are sweet, that is not the case at all, and there's many outstanding examples of Riesling that are completely dry, such as this next top wine for $25 a bottle. This is the 2023 Pewsey Vale 1961 block Riesling, which was well received by several major critics. As the name suggests, the fruit for this wine comes from a special parcel of old vines that was planted back in 1961, which is extremely old for Australian Riesling. This wine comes from Australia's Eden Valley, which is a cooler climate wine region that's known for the production of world-class Riesling. Better still, Pewsey Vale is one of the most historic high-quality producers from Eden Valley. This wine is an extraordinary value at around $25 per bottle. It's a mineral-driven wine that has bracing acidity and layered citrus flavors. When it's young, this is a wine that can be a little bit restrained, but I definitely recommend that you buy this wine in quantity and try to put away as many bottles as you can for an extended period of time. Last summer, I had the opportunity to try a number of different expressions of aged Riesling from Australia, and I was absolutely blown away. These wines gain tremendous complexity and become truly special with 10 to 15 years of additional age. In a recent video that I published on $50 wines, a viewer complained that I didn't include any wines from Spain in that video. So today, I'm going to atone for that mistake by including a second Spanish wine. This is a Tempranillo-based wine, but it's not from Rioja. Instead, it's from Toro. Toro is an interesting wine region in part because it never experienced phylloxera. As such, there's a number of extremely old, ungrafted vines. The vines that produce this wine, for example, average an impressive 79 years of age, with the oldest being planted way back in 1900 and the youngest planted in 1970. I know there's a number of precise people that watch this channel, and so I should mention that this Tempranillo is actually a local clone that's called Tinta de Toro, and that is an indigenous clone that evolved over the years and is well adapted to the extremely harsh climate in the Toro wine region. Compared with the Tempranillo that you'd find in either Rioja or even Ribera del Duero, Tinta de Toro produces smaller grapes with thicker skins and more of a dark fruit profile and higher tannins. It appears that there's two different vintages of the Bodegas Vatan, Triton, Tinta de Toro in the market currently, and both of them were well received by critics, so you really can't go wrong with either vintage. Montepulciano di Abruzzo is a large wine region that is ideally and idyllically located between the Apennine foothills and the Adriatic Sea. The foothills provide some rocky sites with elevation, which is where many of the top wines are produced. Not surprisingly, Montepulciano is the dominant grape in Montepulciano di Abruzzo, although some blends are permitted. Montepulciano has been a workhorse grape that's been used to produce affordable red wines in central Italy for many years, but it is certainly capable of producing very high-quality wines as well, such as the next top Italian wine value. Tiberio is one of my favorite producers of Montepulciano di Abruzzo. They have some high-end wines that I really enjoy, but their entry-level wine, which is called the Montepulciano di Abruzzo, sells for an extremely reasonable $25 per bottle, and the 2022 vintage is really an extraordinary value at this price point. While Montepulciano di Abruzzo can be extremely tannic and have very grippy tannins, Tiberio did an excellent job with tannin management for this wine. They used some extremely gentle extraction techniques and also matured this wine for only 5 months in stainless steel. As a result, this wine is surprisingly smooth and approachable, even in its youth. This wine comes in at 14.5% alcohol by volume. This wine is full-bodied and powerful, but simultaneously elegant and refined. There's pronounced aromatic and flavor intensity. The flavors and aromas include sour cherry, blueberry, violet, and wet stone. An extremely impressive wine that I think you will enjoy. If you'd like to learn more about Italian wines, I've published numerous videos on various Italian wine subjects, including Super Tuscan wines, Barolo, Brunello, Chianti Classico, and many more. So if you'd like to check those out, be sure to check out the playlist that's linked above.